Hey, what's up, YouTube? It's Marvin again, back with some more music reactions. Welcome back to Smitty Reacts. And on this video, we're going to be checking out John Petrucci as he shares with us some of his favorite riffs from his years with Dream Theater and probably just music in general. Not really sure, I haven't seen the video yet, but that would be my guess just given the title of it. So that being said, this is a kind of a continuation of the last video I did from Dream Theater, which just featured just Jordan Rudess talking about some of his favorite piano licks and just kind of his inspiration and what got him started in music. So I'm really kind of curious to see what John has to say about that, if it's a similar video or something a little different. So with that being said, before I hit start, please like, comment, share, subscribe. If you're not exactly sure what I'm talking about as far as the previous video, that'll be linked in at the end of this video. Check out, it'll probably be up in the corner somewhere, wherever I put it, and check it out that way. And then we can kind of catch up what I've done with not only with that video, but other stuff that I've got from Dream Theater so far on my channel. So with that being said, let me go ahead and hit start on here. Let me see what John's got to say about his favorite music. Let's go.
This is John Petrucci from Dream Theater, and you're watching Loudwire. I grew up on Long Island in New York, and there were many garage bands in my neighborhood, and I still remember watching these guys play, and they were playing Paranoid by Black Sabbath, and I just wanted to be able to play it on guitar. I tried to figure it out, and didn't realize that Black Sabbath was tuned down, so that wasn't helpful. And there was also this one little tricky technique that I finally saw somebody play right in front of me, and made me make it sound like the way Tony Iommi was playing it, this little sort of hammer-on thing. So it was Black Sabbath, Paranoid. So the first riff I ever learned was actually from Hey Hey My, Neil Young, and I'd gone over to Kevin Moore's house. Kevin Moore was the original keyboard player in Dream Theater. We were best friends growing up on Long Island. He lived right around the corner. He was having a jam session, and they needed somebody to play the guitar line, and I don't remember who taught it to me. I learned it and was struggling, couldn't play it, but it was the first thing I learned was the Neil Young riff. When I was growing up, I started playing guitar when I was about 12 years old, and I was self-taught. I didn't have a guitar teacher. The neighborhood was my guitar teacher. I would go to any jam session I could, jam the blues, jam on Santana songs, jam on metal, rock, whatever I could. And by the time I was ready to graduate high school, I decided to go to Berklee College of Music in Boston. And so then I took a couple of lessons to try to prepare myself for the sight reading and stuff like that. But other than that, yeah, I was self-taught. And I think that was really helpful in developing my ear, because I learned all the riffs and solos and things.
Pause right there for a second. And that's exactly what I was about to say. Generally, if you're self-taught, and I've talked to other musicians and people that sing and such, they say people with like just a really good ear or have a trained ear are pretty rare, in terms of like, not only like it's a rare ability to be able to like find notes and pick notes. It's also a skill that some people just don't have. Like some people that are musicians that I know really don't have a great ear, but they basically can sight read, and they know just off of where the note is, they can say, okay, well, based on where the note is or whatever, just off the off the charts that they're reading, they're able to tell you like where that note is and about where it should hit at. And of course they'll be able to read it on like a piano scale or that sort of thing. But in terms of just having a trained ear, like that's kind of where I'm at. Like I'm a singer, but I'm more of a self-taught singer. I can't read like music at all, but my ear is pretty decent. The only challenge with having a good ear is, from what I understand, is the older you get, the more your ear basically kind of deteriorates over time. Just because it's harder for you to like hit the particular note that you think it should be. But I hear it's basically one of those things like, you can have it for a while, especially when you're younger. It's very easy to like have a great ear, but then over time, as your hearing degrades and your hearing changes over the years, it's very easy for it to fall off. So it's safer to sight read or learn how to read music and that sort of thing and be a trained musician. But your ear, like it's very special. So at any rate, sorry, I didn't go on a tangent, but I definitely know what he's talking about in terms of that though. Just because it's something I've kind of gone through as well. So anyway, let's get back to Mr. John here. See what he's talking about.
um, by listening to records and trying to figure it out for myself. So it was a great learning experience. Early on, when I was first getting into lead playing, I struggled a lot with bending and vibrato. I think mainly because I didn't really know what it was, and I would try to play these solos, and it just didn't really sound like it. And it wasn't until I discovered bending and vibrato and the way that guitar players like Angus Young and Jimmy Page were doing this that my playing started to sound better. One of the things about that is when you're first learning to play guitar and bend, you don't realize that in order to kind of get some leverage, you have to wrap your thumb around and use your other supporting fingers behind the bending finger. So if you're bending with your third finger, you don't just kind of bend with it by itself like this. That's I've seen guys do that. That's really difficult. You kind of grab the guitar, you use the leverage point, and use the other fingers behind it like this. Very, very important. And also vibrato. I didn't realize
Hmm.
how big of a signature vibrato was for guitar players. From Van Halen to Randy Rhoads to Steve Morse to Steve Ray Vaughan, everybody has a very distinct vibrato style. And I learned how to do it by slowing down records. I mean, I remember listening to an Iron Maiden record and hearing this really slow. But when you played at normal speed. And so I made the realization that
Connection.
vibrato was
Yeah.
just a series of bends up and down, and that was a big moment for me, and it made all of my soloing become more believable, and it also helped me develop my own sound as a guitar player. When I was learning guitar, my friends and I, including John Mayung, the bass player in Dream Theater, we really loved Iron Maiden and Rush. So we knew every Iron Maiden and Rush song. When
Pause for a moment. Um, Somebody, I think it was maybe in my Dream Theater um, video, somebody recommended for me to check out Rush. That said, I've listened to a little bit of Rush over the years, but I've never like dove into their content. I know they're like a huge band, so that might be what I do next. Just I kind of want to see like maybe where they get influences from, and that's why I like this video too, where it's not just talking about his play style and technique and all that stuff, but it really dives into like his influences, kind of forming his own sound, and obviously bringing that sound into his band, which I totally appreciate. Like this is really cool for me, like just being able to kind of like deep dive into to a musician and what they think about as they're creating music and what they've heard as far as like influences in the music has been really cool. So I definitely like this video. But that said, yeah, we might do some Rush here in a little bit. Let me rewind just a little bit and go back just 2 clicks.
the bass player in Dream Theater, we really loved Iron Maiden and Rush. So we knew every Iron Maiden and Rush song. When Number of the Beast was a big one, I mean, we literally learned all those songs. So that was one of the riffs we loved playing together. Was from Number of the Beast.
Hmm.
And with Rush, I mean, there's so many amazing Rush albums, but actually the very first one has a lot of the more kind of rock, like Zeppelin-ish songs, and we used to jam on that stuff all the time. My friends and I, Working Man was a favorite one because it had this extended guitar solo section, and I just loved it. But yeah, the main opening riff in Working Man was one of my favorites. So me and Kevin Moore, who I mentioned before, the first keyboard player in Dream Theater, we were best friends growing up. We did everything together, and one of the bands that we really loved, probably because he was a keyboard player, was The Doors,
Right.
and we used to jam on Doors songs all the time. And I tried to learn those solos, and those Robbie Krieger solos were difficult for me because I don't know, it was hard to kind of figure out what was going on. The solo in Roadhouse Blues, I never quite actually learned it exactly, but it kind of sort of was doing these rock and roll Chuck Berry-ish kind of licks, and that was actually helpful for me to learn back then, because it's such there's such staple ingredients to guitar soloing, and I don't know exactly, but something like this. My favorite Dream Theater riffs are usually the ones that elicit.
So I'm gonna pause right here. Right before he, I think this is a good little break right here before he jumps into the Dream Theater stuff. I like what he was able to do right there, uh, in terms of like talking about his influences, talking about the Doors, which I've heard before, but I also like how he mentioned Chuck Berry and like how connected music really is, especially when you start going back in the history of music and specifically the history of rock music. Mainly because it's like the one of the few like American born music styles. Granted, it's got a lot of influences from a lot of different cultures too, but in terms of like starting rock and roll, like it always goes back to like blues, you know, jazz, blues, this kind of stuff, and then it basically like evolved into rock and roll, and then eventually became, you know, one of the biggest selling and most iconic forms of music in history. you know, the only other music close to that, in my opinion, would be like hip hop and rap. Because that also started here in the U.S. But just our style started there, and then of course other genres or other not genres, but other countries kind of came in and influenced it from there. So anyway, not to give you guys like a long history of music or rock and roll or anything, but I just like the fact that he pointed that stuff out, which is really cool. And of course, it shows like the Doors are influenced by Chuck Berry, and you know, uh, I can't even think of anybody off the top. But anyway, a lot of those other like early rock sounding bands and stuff. But no, let's check out some Dream Theater licks, man. I kind of wanted to see what his favorite ones are of the songs. I also want to see if I recognize any of them and if they're already on the channel. So let me check out and see what he's talking about as far as Dream Theater itself goes.
My favorite Dream Theater riffs are usually the ones that elicit a great crowd response. And,
All right.
I just love kind of writing and playing riffs like that, especially live. The latest album, Distance Over Time, there's a song called Barstool Warrior. And I just knew, like, when we wrote it, that I knew it was going to kind of elicit that reaction. And sure enough, it has. And I love playing it live. All right, so another favorite Dream Theater riff of mine is from the Awake album, and it is the first song that I wrote when getting my first seven-string guitar. It's The Mirror. It's really simple. It's literally one chord and a certain rhythm that keeps repeating, but whenever we play the song live, it just gets the audience so pumped. And I love the opening, which is a little bit of this kind of backwards pick scrape. It goes like this. And another favorite riff of mine is from the Systematic Chaos record, where it was very riff centric. And I was trying to come up with what would be sort of an original but quirky and cool heavy riff, again written on the seven string, and it's the one for the Dark Eternal Night. And whenever I play that riff and we go into it again, the audience just really responds great. One of the first riffs I wrote way back when with John Mayung, back on Long Island when we were growing up, and before we went to Berklee College of Music and met Mike Portnoy, and the beginnings of Dream Theater, started. Was a song called "The School Song." I don't really remember why it was called "The School Song," but we had a demo called the Majesty demo because Dream Theater used to be called Majesty. Little bit of trivia about that, and my Ernie Ball Music Man signature guitars are called Majesty guitars, and this is the Dream Theater logo is actually an M that's left over from the old Majesty days. So the School Song was one of the first riffs that I wrote. So my brand new solo album is called Terminal Velocity. It's coming out in a couple of days, and I have a few riffs on that record that I'm really proud of. It's definitely chock full of riffs, very much like Suspended Animation that came out back in 2005. So this is my first solo album in 15 years. And one of the songs I wrote to be kind of this stomp with a real, I don't know, Queen or rock and roll, Joe Satriani type of feel to it, audience participation, and it just has a single guitar throughout the whole song. And it's called Snake in My Boot. It's really just like a rock kind of riff, but it's a lot of fun to play. There's another riff from Terminal Velocity that was fun to play, and I look forward to playing it live because I think it's going to have a lot of energy. It's from the closing track on the record. It's called Temple of Circadia, and it's also the only 7-string song on the album. The riff goes like this.
Huh. All right, man. Pause right there. Speaking of Jordan Rudess, there he is over there. And that's the last video. That's the one that I checked out earlier. So that was pretty cool, man. That was a pretty cool little trek into John Petrucci there. I will say, like, comparatively, I think I like Jordan's a little bit better. Like, it was a little bit more fun to me. But that being said, like, I think that just exploring, like, what goes into some of these riffs and stuff like that, and just kind of more or less showcasing some of them is really cool because you get a chance to really isolate the riffs. Because a lot of the times, like, you don't necessarily like think about, okay, I'm gonna do this riff, and the riff may repeat a few times, and then we'll transition to a different riff, and then transition to something else, and how that kind of works into like the creation of the song or creation of, like, a particular album. Even like you said, like on one of the songs, it's like that whole riff carries through the entire track. It might be just one guitar or whatever, and it goes all the way through it. So that's kind of neat. Just kind of getting more of an insight into how he as a musician approaches music and how he might put things together. So at any rate, I thought it was really cool. I thought it was cool. So I hope you guys appreciated this video. You know what I'm saying? Just to kind of jump a little deeper into Dream Theater's, creativity, as it were, and their influences between both of those videos. So again, if you haven't seen the other video over here with Jordan, that's on the channel as well. I'll link that one here at the end of the video here. And let me know what you guys think. Go ahead and drop some comments in the comments area below this video, wherever they go, and let me know what you thought. Of course, if you have any suggestions or anything like that, go ahead and drop them down there too. At that point, man, I think we're at the end of the video, so I'm gonna get up out of here. Thanks for watching all the way to the end. I appreciate you. Thanks for all the new subscribers. Thanks for being here. And I'm gonna keep trying to drop out more videos as often as I can. I've gotten a little busier in my personal life. Other things are kind of going on right now. I'm just trying to balance work life and all that good stuff, which is always funner than it sounds, let me tell you. So, or not as fun as it should be, I'll say that for real. But at any rate, y'all, I'm gonna get up out of here. Again, this is Marvin. Thanks for watching Smitty Reacts, and until the next video, please take care of yourself, be kind to one another, and then if you guys can do that, I'll catch you guys in the next video. All right, cool, peace.